do everything you can to ride as early in the day or as late in the day as possible when the weather is going to be the coolest. So when you plan ahead just a little bit in relation to the forecast and the weather, you can have just a much more pleasurable ride. Welcome to the Biking Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Smith, and I lost 50 pounds riding my bike by focusing on what my body can do. Now, I teach other women how to do the same. I am obsessed with completely flipping the script on weight loss so that we can work out to feel good and feel strong. If you are ready to stop dieting, learn how to appreciate your body, and have fun riding your bike, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to be with you here today. As always, I am so thrilled that you are joining me for another episode. It means the world to me, honestly, that you choose to spend this time with me every week. And it's so good for you to keep biking and wellness front of mind. So even if you just tune into this podcast every week, you are taking an awesome step towards your biking, wellness, weight loss, strong body journey. So thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to talk to you about this week's episode because it is all about summer. Summer is just around the corner. The weather is starting to get a little bit warmer here in the Northeast in the United States. And it's just the greatest time really to get on your bike if you follow some really kind of simple tips and tricks. So I'm going to go through my absolute best summer biking tips with you in this episode today. It is going to be jam-packed with great information. But before I dive in, I just want to let you know, in case you don't already know, that I have a completely free lose weight biking quick start guide so that you can get started with your biking weight loss today. It's super easy and super simple. All you have to do is go to www.sassy.com. That's www.sassy.com/guide. And you will be able to just put in your name and your email and it'll be delivered right to your inbox so that you don't have to wait anymore, because the best time to start with your biking and your wellness and your weight loss is legitimately right now. Don't wait until, after vacation or until after this really difficult time in your life. The best time to start is now, because when we keep it simple and easy, which is exactly what we do here in the biking wellness community, there's really no need to wait because it's not really complicated. And these are simple things that we can start doing every day in order to lose weight riding our bike. So just check out that free guide. It's at www.sassy.com/guide. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's talk about biking during the summer. Now, getting out and being active during the summer is so much fun. And it's great because a lot of times the weather does cooperate. Generally, we have some really good sun, we have some nice warm weather, and it's so easy to just kind of get out there and go outside. You don't have to put on 865,000 layers, and you can just go out and enjoy the weather. However, sometimes it does get really hot. And we do have to plan for that. So I have some tips that I'm going to run through with you so that you can kind of get yourself set up for success on the bike this summer so that you can get out on your bike more this summer, riding your bike, taking a walk, going for a run, whatever it is that you like to do to stay active during the summer. It is so much more pleasant and so much more pleasurable if you follow some really kind of basic guidelines. Now, it's going to seem to you like some of these things that I'm talking about today are just no-brainers. And yes, they are. But I can't tell you how many times I have gone out on the bike during the summer and I've forgotten one or other of these things. Or I've been with friends who have forgotten one or other of these things. And you really can put yourself in a pretty bad place where you don't have the energy or the hydration or the stamina or the ability to even finish your ride or your workout if you don't take the proper precautions during the summer. So I'm just going to get started and I'm going to run through my best biking tips for the hot summer weather. The first one, which you're going to roll your eyes at, I am sure, is to hydrate and hydrate properly. It is to drink your water. And I know you're sitting here thinking, of course I have to drink water when it's hot. But what you might not realize is that proper hydration on the bike, or proper hydration when you're going for a hike or when you're going for a walk or a run, really starts long before the run, the walk, the hike, the bike, especially during the summer months. So you need to be hydrating your body consistently, not just during the ride. If you're trying to catch up with your hydration on the bike, I'm telling you, sometimes that is just not going to work, and you're going to find yourself feeling really dehydrated and lightheaded. So here are my tips for you related to hydration. Like I said, you want to be drinking water, and you want to be drinking it throughout the day. So you want to be drinking it the day before if you're going out for a ride first thing in the morning. You also are going to want to make sure that you have some kind of electrolyte mix with you when it is warm weather. In fact, if you are riding in extremely warm temperatures or even just warmer than usual temperatures, it's a great idea to be sipping electrolyte mixes before the ride, because they're going to help you be topped off before you even start. And then while you're riding, they're going to help you replenish the electrolytes you lose. Because in addition to losing moisture when we are sweating, we are also losing salt. And the thing about biking that can be different than some other activities is that because you are moving and you're moving fast and the wind is kind of like, cooling you down a little bit in a way that doesn't happen when you go for a run, you might not necessarily realize that you are getting dehydrated or that you're really getting warm until it's almost too late. So that's why being really on top of your hydration and proper hydration when you're riding in particular is so important. In warm weather, I always have 2 water bottles on my bike, insulated water bottles, and I'll link the ones that I use and love in the show notes, but I always have 2 water bottles that are insulated on my bike, one of an electrolyte mix and one of just straight water. Usually my bigger water bottle has straight water, and my smaller water bottle has a hydration mix in it, some sort of electrolyte mix. I do that to make sure that I can replenish both so that I'm on top of both and so that I'm topped off. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, but don't electrolyte mixes have a lot of sugar? And the answer is yeah, they do actually. And this is because you need the sugar sometimes on the ride too, especially if it's a longer ride. The carbohydrate is really important and really necessary. Now, do you need to be sipping an electrolyte mix with sugar throughout the day? Probably not. Could that potentially interfere with your weight loss goals? I'm sure. I mean, we're not counting calories here in the biking wellness community, but at the same time, yeah, having a whole bunch of sugar you don't need throughout the day is not necessarily the greatest idea. So that is certainly something that you want to keep in mind. Okay, so hydration, proper hydration is by far the most important thing when you're riding in the summer. The next thing, which is, probably just as important, is to make sure that you're wearing the right clothing. From this perspective, what I want you to be kind of thinking about is the fact that Lycra is your best friend. And cycling clothes, though they may not necessarily appeal to you, are so useful, especially during the summer. Cycling jerseys have pockets in the back where you can keep an extra water bottle. You can actually freeze a water bottle and it kind of can act as an ice pack. So having a proper cycling jersey during the summer is such a good idea. You can carry food back there. You can carry your phone. You can carry all sorts of things in those nice deep pockets in a cycling jersey. And one of those things that you can carry in your cycling jersey is sunscreen. So this is my third tip. I can't tell you how many times that I've forgotten to put sunscreen on, or I've put it on at the beginning of the day and I wasn't riding until later in the day and I forgot to reapply. So it is always a good idea to have some sunscreen that you can just keep in the back pocket of your jersey, or even just keep some sunscreen in your car so that if you're driving somewhere to ride or whatever, you will have it and have it readily available. Kind of actually merging tip number 2 with wearing the right clothes and the sunscreen, I actually love to wear sun jerseys. These are long sleeve jerseys that are super, super thin, but actually protect your arms against the sun so that you don't have to put sunscreen all over your arms. Terry actually carries some amazing ones. I will link those in the show notes. They are my absolute favorite thing to ride in the summer. And this may be kind of an unpopular opinion, but I actually would rather have that thin layer of fabric really protecting my arms than have, sunscreen applied. I don't feel any hotter in one of those sun jerseys than I would in like a tank top jersey. So that's just my preference. I love sun jerseys. They have nice pockets in the back, and you can keep sunscreen in the back, and you can keep sunscreen on your body. So make sure that you reapply sunscreen. Don't forget the back of your neck. Don't forget your ears. I know I'm kind of sounding like your mom right now, but those are just some really kind of important tips and important reminders, because we don't want sunburn and we certainly don't want skin cancer. And making sure that we have our bodies completely covered in the sunscreen is so very important in the summer. My next tip for you is to check the forecast and be really aware of just how hot it is going to be that day that you're riding. And if there are any potential, rain or thunderstorms or, those sorts of things that can kind of crop up. I will never forget when I went for a ride during the summer and it was beautiful out. It was great weather. I planned a quick kind of 15-mile ride, and it was going to be, in and out in maybe an hour, a little over an hour or so. It was going to be fantastic. And I got caught in like a combo hail thunderstorm. And who knows, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if I had an idea that that was actually potentially going to happen. Maybe I wouldn't have gone for a ride that day. So make sure that you check the forecast. Make sure that if it's really hot, you are really prepared. And also, if it's going to be really hot that day, do everything you can to ride as early in the day or as late in the day as possible when the weather is going to be the coolest. So when you plan ahead just a little bit in relation to the forecast and the weather, you can have just a much more pleasurable ride. Now, my last tip, my fifth tip, is that if you are going to be going on a long ride, you really probably should put a little more planning into it, especially in the summer. In the summer months, when you're going on a long ride, if it is going to be really hot, you want to make sure that there are a couple of factors really kind of in place for you. First of all, you want to make sure that there are places where you are going to be able to fill up your water bottles. So in the summer, I have never really done a long ride, kind of like a 3-4 hour ride without having some kind of support. So the only time I've done rides that long in the summer have been organized rides where there have been water bottle stops and so on and so forth. However, I know many people who do long rides, like my husband, all of the time, and they just have to make sure that they know where the locations are along their route where they will be able to fill up their water bottles. There have been so many times where my husband's come home and he's completely out of water, and he's actually been like, can you just get me a really big glass of water right now? Because there weren't places along his route where he was able to fill up. So make sure that you have places on your route where you can fill up, whether it be a convenience store, a friend's house. Make sure you have like a little bit of money in your back pocket if the convenience store doesn't take like Apple Pay or something like that. I know these are kind of little minutia sorts of details, but when you plan these sorts of things in advance, you are going to be in such better shape in order to have a good ride during the summer. Also, speaking of stopping, you want to make sure that you take frequent breaks in the warm weather. Take a break in the shade. Again, because of the nature of cycling and riding your bike, you are not going to necessarily know how hot your body is getting because of the fact that you are generating some wind. There's probably a more technical term for that, but you've got the wind kind of like cooling you off a little bit, and it can give you a false sense of security, honestly. So make sure if you have a long ride planned for the summer that you plan frequent breaks, that you take them in the shade, and that you always take them before you think you need them. And that actually goes for just about everything in the summer. Do it before you think you need to. Apply the sunscreen before you think you need to. Have some extra water before you think you need it. Stop for water and pick up more water before you think you actually need it, because that way you are going to stay on top of your hydration. You're going to stay on top of your energy. If it's a long ride, again, consider, having an additional water bottle in your cycling jersey that's frozen. You can freeze water in a water bottle, and then that'll just kind of melt as you're going along. It'll keep you cool. Those are just some kind of little tricks that I've never done, but I've seen other women do. Going along with this on a long ride, make sure that you have food. Proper fuel on a long ride is important regardless of what season it is, but it is going to potentially be even more important during the summer because of the fact that, you really have to stay on top of that hydration because your body is going to be under more stress than it is when you're riding in kind of more perfect types of temperatures for riding. So make sure you have food as fuel too during the summer. Don't just focus on the water and just focus on the hydration because you're going to need to be keeping up with your glucose, with your carbs as you ride during the summer. Okay. So that is it, my friend. Those are my 5 best tips for what you should do when you are riding your bike during the summer months. Riding is so much fun during the summer, but you want to be safe. You want to make sure that you follow these basic tips. It's going to seem like a no-brainer to you to make sure you have water, that you're hydrating, that you're wearing the right clothing, that you have sunscreen, that you've reapplied your sunscreen, that you have fuel, and that you take frequent breaks. But as I kind of recap all of that, it's a lot, right? So you really should put a little bit of extra planning into your summer riding because it is going to be so much more fun and so much more pleasurable for you if you are cooling your body the way you need to, hydrating your body the way you need to, and making sure that you have fueled your body the way that you need to. Now, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Stacey, I'm lucky if I get a 20-minute ride in, and you're talking about riding 3 or 4 hours. Well, let me just say that the 3 or 4 hour rides are very infrequent for me. I do 1 or 2 of them a year. Sometimes it's more like a 2-hour ride, and that might be my max for the year. So we're going to cycle through times where we're on the bike more and on the bike less, but it is just as important to prepare properly for a 20, 30-minute ride in the sun as it is for a 2, 3, 4 hour ride in the sun, because you can put a lot of stress on your body. You can get a lot of sun exposure you don't want in 20 to 30 minutes. So, and even an hour. A lot of times when people go for an hour, they're thinking, oh, I'm not going out for that long. But if it's really hot, an hour is going to put a lot more stress on your body than it is during a time period when it's not. So just keep all of these things in mind when you go to get on the bike, and know that if you just think about them in advance and you make sure that you have what you need, you are going to have so much fun. Riding bikes in the summer is literally the best. I mean, just think about when you were little and you were off for school and you got to ride your bikes all summer long with your friends. It's just like that as an adult if you prepare properly, because, our bodies just need a little bit of extra TLC as we get older. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Viking Wellness Podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today, to chat with you this week. Please be sure to, if this episode resonated with you, to share it with a friend. Maybe you have a friend who loves to ride bikes and she could just use a little refresher on how to properly do it in the summer. So again, thank you so much. It means the world to me that we have this time to spend together every week. And until next time, my friend, ride on. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Viking Wellness Podcast. Be sure to head on over to sassy.com/guide, SASCY.com/guide, to get my completely free lose weight biking quick start guide so that you can get started with simple, doable weight loss today. That's SASCY.com/guide.